Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Healthy and Aging Well. My name is Ken Hageland, and we are broadcasting from the AM 950 radio station that overlooks Bryant Lake Regional Park, located in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It is another wonderful day here in the Twin Cities, and I am so grateful to be here with you today, and I hope all of you listening are doing well. We are on the air every Saturday from noon to 1 to talk about your health and your life. We cover a wide range of topics to help you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me in a few minutes will be Rosie Gaston. She's a Master of Social Work, a licensed independent clinical social worker, and an advanced palliative hospice social worker certified. And she is the passionate founder of A Better Ending. And she's here to talk about the taboo topic of end-of-life planning. With a lot of heart and a little bit of humor, Rosie is an experienced hospice clinical social worker and highlights how A Better Ending provides counseling, advocacy, and education to help individuals and those closest to them plan for and navigate end of life with intention and compassion. Her mission is to normalize talking about death, transforming a tough conversation into an empowering experience. So stay tuned for a lively discussion about living fully and leaving a lasting legacy. All right. I want to thank all of you that leave us messages on our radio show phone line. We appreciate hearing from you, and we welcome your comments, questions, and topics for future shows. Also, if you are interested in being a guest on our radio show, please call or text us at 612-999-3426. You can also contact us on our website at livinghealthyradio.com. There you can find information about upcoming guests as well as listen to our previous shows. We look forward to hearing from you. We are adding new listeners to the show each week, not only here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, but also throughout the country. You can find podcasts for all of our radio shows on the AM 950 radio website, and we can also be found on iTunes, Spotify, and many other of your favorite podcast and streaming services. You can also watch our broadcast live on the radio station's Facebook page at AM 950 Radio. If you have a question for us today, there are two ways to reach us. First, by calling the AM 950 radio station, and our friendly show engineer, Tom, will get your call on the air. Our phone number is 952-946-6205. Once again, 952-946-6205. Or you can directly text us your question at 612-999-3426. Now, don't worry if you missed our contact numbers. I'll repeat them throughout the show. Also, please do not wait till the show has ended to call or text us with your questions. We often receive many of the same questions after the show has ended. So if you have a question, many others do as well. So please contact us during the show, and we look forward to answering your questions. All right. I want to welcome my guest for today's show. I've known Rosie for several years. We've run across each other at various events and things, and we've been trying to get you on the show here, and we finally did it.
I'm excited to be here.
This is going to be great. You are, again, a very passionate person, but I just want to welcome Rosie Gaston. She's the founder of the company A Better Ending, and so we're going to talk about her company, and a lot of great things today, folks. So if you have any questions, be sure and give us a call. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Rosie.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and be joining your listeners today. And I'm encouraging those questions as well, too. I'm here to serve the community and your community in any way I can. So please keep them coming.
Yes. So we will look forward to that, folks. All right. Well, first of all, the audience loves to learn about you.
Sure.
So give us a bit about your background and maybe how that rolled into what inspired you to do what you're doing today, your life's work.
Yeah. So, I think taking things back, a lot of it started with the household I grew up in, right? Our comfortability surrounding topics like death and dying often start in childhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm abundantly blessed to have two incredible parents who really modeled grief and gave permission for grief, and that death and dying was not a topic that we avoided. Fast forward a few decades, I was 25 years old and I was living in Key West, Florida. My career before becoming a social worker was in the restaurant industry. So I was living a beautiful and easy life down in Key West, and I wasn't fulfilled. So I'm like, what? Something's off here, right? Like I'm living in this paradise. And so I started reading a book about a quarter life crisis, and they do exist. It is a real thing. And just, thought I need to get back home to Minneapolis, and I need to figure out really what my purpose is for this life. So I came home and I started volunteering.
Yeah.
One of them was with a hospice agency, and I immediately just found it. I fell in love with the work. So I was kind of discovering, what's the right path for me to go down. And I quickly learned that I am very much a social worker. I'm so grateful I took that route. And so I attended the St. Thomas and St. Catherine School of Social Work, where literally every single opportunity I had, every paper, every presentation, I essentially just did it around death, dying, grief, loss, caregiving, bioethics. I knew 10 years ago that this is the work I wanted to do, and I have never waxed or waned since. It's supposed to be in this end-of-life space.
Okay, so I got to just stop you. Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah.
Over the years of doing this radio show, I've had people who have had mid-life, mid-career, 180-degree turns.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, I found it.
Yeah.
And I wish that for everybody, that they could feel that, where you just know, this is why I was created. This is why I am here.
Yeah.
So, it's great to hear that.
Well, and part of it, if we think about finding that, takes intentionality. Like purpose doesn't come and slap us in the face. We need to come searching for it. You need to read the books. You need to be doing the journaling. You need to be volunteering. You need to be having the conversations. Like you find your purpose rarely finds you.
Yes, that's true. However, in hospice, since you're a fellow hospice person, I find so many people say that hospice found them because they weren't looking for.
Sure.
I mean, when you're in kindergarten, they don't say, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And a cowboy, a fireman, or nurse or doctor. No one says, "I want to be a hospice social worker," or just be in hospice at all.
Yeah.
It just doesn't cross people's minds unless their parent or family is involved.
Sure.
But I've heard that in this profession, a lot of times people weren't searching for it, but somehow, and I'm one of them. It somehow got a hold of me, and all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this is my calling.
Yeah.
But you weren't necessarily. But it's great to see with you how you just kind of flowed right into it in your life.
Well, again,
especially at a young age.
Yeah, lots of thoughtful decisions to go in, and again, putting myself out there and trying out different places of volunteering, and really just committing to finding it. I didn't want to find it when I was in my 50s. I wanted to find it when I was in my 20s and live a full life of serving in this way.
Yeah, and isn't it great, though, as I talk to people on the show that have been doing things for 10 years, 15, 20, 30, their whole life, there's just the wisdom that experience gives you that you just can't contain it. You want so bad to share it with people.
Yes.
And I can see that in you.
Yeah.
Over the years I've known you and just talking to you now. So, okay. All right, so you started volunteering, which I think is a great story. Just do something, folks.
Yeah.
Just do something. There's so many opportunities to volunteer in different areas of life. Try it out. I mean, that just is such a great way to just put your toe in the water.
Changed my life.
No, right.
Truly.
Listen, I've heard that. It's so common that people said, I had this going, but I just tried a few things over here just to see.
Why not?
And sure enough.
Here we go.
Well, as we talked before the show started, people need to be courageous.
Yeah.
And just try something.
Yeah.
We were talking about end of life and how what I have learned from other people as well in end of life is that people have regrets, but it's not the regrets of things they did. It's the regrets of things they didn't do. Because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to try things. Doesn't work out. But boy, when you're sitting there at the end of life, you think about what I didn't do, what I didn't try, what I could have, would have, should have done.
Sure.
And I just always encourage people, what's the worst that could happen?
Just do it.
Yeah, right. You fail, you learn, and you go on to the next thing.
Yeah. And then you can pat yourself on the back for being brave and trying, right? There's so few people who just don't try. It's like, let's just go. Let's throw your hat in the ring. Let's just see what happens.
Which is why it's so great having people like you on the show to encourage people. you just got to get out of that safety zone. We're all wired for safety, but you know what? That isn't what leads to a fulfilling life.
No.
I don't think being in the comfort zone, it's kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, right? Pushing the boundaries. Mm-hmm. Well, good for you for doing that. That's great. All right. So keep going then with your story.
So went to grad school, finished grad school, and immediately started working in hospice.
Wow.
I worked in different settings. I worked in community hospice, inpatient hospice. I worked in a cancer clinic for a little bit. And eventually landed as a director of social services for a hospice agency. So, essentially a role that a social worker could have within hospice or palliative, I've served in that role.
Yeah.
But where I just found myself is I wanted to stop being so reactive. I felt like I was on this revolving door of reactivity and seeing how people aren't talking about death and dying. They're not only are they not talking about it, Ken, but they're not even planning for it, right? So I would be brought into these spaces and felt like I was like an emotional firefighter, just being reactive essentially to people not having any idea what to do, not having any education, not having any direction. And then you're trying to give them all of this at a time when emotionally they're in a state of crisis and stress and grief and everything else. So then they're even struggling to see pretty simple options, understandably, that are put down in front of them. And so I was just like, I can't keep being on this revolving door. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get ahead of it.
Perfect. All right, Rosie, the music's cueing us out here. Hold that thought. It's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Rosie Gaston. And she's the passionate founder of A Better Ending. And she's here to talk about the taboo topic of end-of-life planning, but also living fully and leaving a lasting legacy. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or you can text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Hageland, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mary T., inviting you to experience our integrative Mary T. Health and Wellness Center, offering physical, occupational, speech, and lymphedema therapies. Experience our guided imagery, meditation, Tibetan medicine, dry needling, massage services, including cupping and oncology massage. Sign up for our free wellness screenings and learn more at marytwellness.com. All major health insurance providers are accepted. Come for therapy, experience wellness.
It's time to experience the amazing flavors of EatLocalMinnesota.com. It's your key to unlocking the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities.
Nightingale off 26th and Lindale is where good times and great flavors unite. Chef Carrie keeps it fresh with seasonal dishes, or savor classics like the Nightingale Burger, steak tartare, and irresistible chocolate pot de crème. Explore tasty vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options, and enjoy craft cocktails, curated wines, and half-price wine bottles every Monday. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. More at nightingalempls.com. Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville sets the bar when it comes to roast beef sandwiches. But let's not forget their other mouthwatering offerings. From Philly steak to turkey bacon avocado, BLT, crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and pulled pork, the menu is a flavor-packed delight. Don't miss out on their delicious variety. Explore the full menu at mavericksbeef.com. Your taste buds will thank you.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter Booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors. And they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games, too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Live music is taking over the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio. Head over on Tuesday, June 25th for Annie Pruney. Wednesday, June 26th, it's Ash St. John. And on Thursday, June 27th, it's the Kevin McMahon Band. Music runs from 5:30 to 8 p.m. and reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, live music and outdoor fun are back at the Park Tavern.
All right, welcome back, folks. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Hageland, and joining me today in the main studio at AM 950 is Rosie Gaston. She is a MSW, an LICSW, an APHSW-C, so she's got all the credentials. But, you know, maybe even more important than that is that she's a passionate founder of A Better Ending, and she's here today to talk about the taboo topic of end-of-life planning, but also to emphasize living fully and leaving a lasting legacy. Rosie is an experienced hospice clinical social worker, and she focuses on providing counseling, advocacy, and education to help individuals and those closest to them plan for and navigate end of life with intention and compassion. Her mission is to normalize talking about death, transforming a tough conversation into an empowering experience. Hopefully we're going to have that today for all of you listening for us. If you have a question, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. So, Rosie, I know our listeners are going to have questions and would love to contact you.
Yeah.
You know, we should talk about your organization, but also maybe contact information as to how they can best reach you.
Sure. I mean, there's lots of information on my website, www.abetterending.org. You can contact me on that website. If you're also looking just to talk with me directly, my office number is 612-564-9229. I would love to hear from you.
Yes, and you would love to talk to her because she is not only so knowledgeable, but she is a great, passionate person to help other people. Like many of the guests we have on the show here, she just loves to help others. So I would encourage you to check with her as you learn more about the services and the things that you do here on the show today.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about A Better Ending.
Sure.
Tell me about that. Again, that's another inspirational, challenge to start a company.
That was one of those being brave moments, right? I mean,
Good for you.
if that's something that it's a deep philosophy and lesson that we learn by doing this work, right, is that we're not promised tomorrow.
Right.
We see too many cases of people who had plans for retirement and got a devastating diagnosis 2 months before they intended to retire, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people, again, you talked about the regrets.
Yeah.
I want to get to the end of my life. I want to be on that deathbed and say, I did the dang thing. I failed sometimes. I fell flat on my face sometimes, but I tried. I tried to do everything I could to live as fully as I could and to live as authentically as I could. And I mean, that was connected to me starting this company.
Right.
Again, in my experience, I saw the difference between families who had the conversations, right?
Yeah.
Adult children, we'll just use that as the example, that knew exactly what mom wanted or dad wanted. Mm-hmm. They could go in, and while they were grieving, while they were heartbroken, because that's the thing about death. Death is not easy.
No.
But there's things that we can do to make it easier.
Yes.
On ourselves and on those that we love. So, it was just like a stark night and day difference between those who had the conversations and those that did not. You saw families being torn apart. You saw people receiving treatments that, I just sat there and I couldn't believe if this person was alive, or not alive, but if they were coherent.
Right.
Is this really what they would wish for themselves? But because they never had these conversations, loved ones are doing the very best they can to navigate, essentially sometimes life and death decisions, right?
Right. Well, and comfort and discomfort.
Yeah.
I see that. Oh my gosh, the stories that you and I could share with people who did an advance directive, but it was so broad, it was not specific,
Yes.
and they didn't think through. And we can talk more about things like that, but they didn't think through specific situations. Well, what if this were to happen? I mean,
Sure.
if, Mom never liked to take medications. Well, guess what? When you're in deep suffering and pain, you'll change your mind.
Yeah.
But the without that specificity in the advance directive, the children going, well, that's not what she would have wanted. But did you ever talk about being in severe pain?
Yeah.
And you go, no. And so you kind of have to help them interpret the advance directive, which is tough on family members.
And it's hard for clinicians, too, who are jumping into a space where, again, now we're meeting a patient who now no longer has capacity to make these decisions. So we're trying to navigate conversations to get to know who our patient was prior to losing their capacity, right? Yeah. And exactly what you're describing was my experience during COVID. I was working inpatient hospice. And so I was working for an incredible agency, good hospital system, but I'd be at this fork in the road where people would be either going with a comfort-focused plan of care with hospice, so I talk with them about what that meant and make a plan for them outside of the hospital, or are we going to go into the ICU? Or are we going to get a tube feeding? Are we going to get a ventilator down our throat to help us breathe, right? So for years I was at this fork in the road, and of course it's COVID, so we can maybe have one family member up there. And so, one of the first thing I would do is search for a healthcare directive. Yeah. And there was, you'd see it and you'd be like, great, at least we're clear about the decision maker. But I got to be honest, Ken, the amount of healthcare directives that offered the specificity that you're talking about to give families permission and guidance, it was so lacking. Right? It was so lacking. And part of it's understandable. A lot of people go and they do these with attorneys. Attorneys are not the clinicians that are at these fork in the road moments. They don't know what common questions should be asked. And what I've learned from attorneys is a lot of their education is to keep these healthcare directives as short and simple as possible. And I will tell you, as a clinician who's been at the front lines of these conversations, that does not help you, that does not serve you, and it does not serve your loved ones or your medical team who actually truly really wants to honor your wishes and what you want for themselves. They want that direction too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some people we found that either religiously or culturally, whatever, they feel the more misery and more pain they suffer, there's some benefit to them.
Sure.
And again, it's at your choice.
Yeah.
But again, make that really clear so that you, especially your loved ones, don't let them feel guilty after you die that did we do the right thing? No.
I have had, because I obviously as a social worker, I also provide grief support. Yeah. I have had family members describe their grief experience as being haunted, as being traumatized, as not being able to shake this. And again, I was the social worker involved in the care when the patient was alive and then followed up afterwards. And I sit back and I reflect, again, this is more of an objective standpoint. This isn't my family, but I'm like, man, I thought that you really made kind, thoughtful decisions that alleviated suffering. That's what I saw. But because they didn't have that permission, because they never had that conversation, they are still carrying this with them, right? So, when I talk with people and encourage them and empower them to let's create a really detailed plan now. Yeah, it's 25% about you, but it's 75% about the people that you love.
That's right.
So, if you're looking at your adult children or whoever in your support system and saying, I love you, this is an action to back it up and show them that you love them. And honestly, one of the very, very last gifts you will give the people that you love is reducing the risk of this traumatic grief.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It is a priceless gift.
It is.
For those you leave behind. All right, it's time for a short break, Rosie. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Rosie Gaston, and she is the passionate founder of A Better Ending, and she's here to talk about the end-of-life planning and also living fully and leaving a lasting legacy. Her mission is to normalize talking about death, transforming a tough conversation into an empowering experience. And I think you're already hearing that, folks, in our conversation today. If you have a question for us, give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Hageland, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on-site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. How do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
Whether you rent or own a home, we all likely have nightmare stories about home maintenance, or what I like to call home cringe moments. Join me, your host, Katie Shahan, for the Yarlow Home Cringe Show. See what home cringe-worthy stories we have for you each week as we talk with local home service pros. Learn best practices for winterizing your home or what to look for after a hailstorm. Listen to the Yarlow Home Cringe Show every Sunday at 2 p.m. or on your favorite podcast app.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about outdoor fires. Sitting around a fire is the oldest, most basic form of human activity.
What's new is in the way fire is burned. We can show you how to burn cleaner with a lot less smoke.
The radiant heat and light from an open fire is unmatched. It kindles our spirits and connects us to the outdoors. And now it's easier to experience and enjoy.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs wood and gas burning fire pits and fireplaces. Let us help you experience an outdoor fire without all the smoke.
Come see the many ways you can enjoy a fire outdoors.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hi, I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
Your hosts for Searching for Service. Tune into Rotary's influential show and podcast, sharing touching stories of service locally and abroad.
We bring you weekly guests that connect, inform, and inspire our listeners on all things service.
We highlight diverse service opportunities that appeal to both Rotarians and people driven to serve in their communities.
Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. or anytime via podcast. It's time
to stop searching
and start serving.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Tom Winston. Today, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 72. Tonight, patchy fog, low 59. And for tomorrow, sunny with a high of 81. All this heavy rain can cause damage to your home or property, and you may not know until it's too late. If you need help, call Chuck at Native Concrete and Masonry for an inspection. Visit nativeconcretemasonry.com to start.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
All right, welcome back, folks. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Hageland, and joining me today is Rosie Gaston. She is the passionate founder of A Better Ending, and she's here to talk about the topic of end-of-life planning and also how to live fully and leave a lasting legacy. And that, you know, her and I agree that the more you talk about death, the better you can live your life.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. People want to avoid it, but it does detract and limit how you can enjoy your life. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Rosie is an experienced hospice clinical worker and provides counseling, advocacy, education to help individuals and those closest to them plan for and navigate end of life with intention and compassion. All right, before we return to our conversation with Rosie, I want to mention this radio show is brought to you in part each week by Minnesota Hospice. Minnesota Hospice is an independent, locally owned medical practice serving our Twin Cities communities with comprehensive end-of-life health care. The team at Minnesota Hospice provides patients and family members with award-winning end-of-life health care services. You may not be aware that hospice brings compassionate medical, social, emotional, and spiritual services to your home with typically no cost to you or your family. Please do not wait to learn how hospice care can benefit you and your loved ones. If you have any questions regarding end-of-life care or support, please contact the compassionate team of experts at Minnesota Hospice. They are available to answer your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their phone number is 952-898-1022. Once again, 952-898-1022, or go online at minnesotahospice.com. All right, Rosie, let's get back into our conversation. Let's talk about the services that you provide.
Yeah.
I mean, we touched on some of them during the first few segments here, but you have such a wide range of things that can help support families and people. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about those.
Yeah. So when I created A Better Ending, that's the beauty, again, of starting your own company. You can say, where are my passions? Where does my heart lie?
Right.
And it really is this dual between supporting my community and also supporting people that work in end-of-life spaces.
Yes.
So, I provide education and support to, healthcare workers, hospice workers, attorneys. Yeah. Anyone that works in this end-of-life space, I can be there to provide consultation, support, and education. But my community work, which is what we're going to focus on today, it really falls into these two buckets. And one is those that want to prepare for end of life, and the others are those that are navigating a life-limiting condition. Right?
Right.
So if we talk about the first, so these are people who are saying, I want a really detailed plan. What I am seeing is a lot of those clients are people I've had one as young as 30, but often are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that are saying, Rosie, I just had a horrible end-of-life experience with somebody I love. Yeah. I was put in a really tough spot. I didn't know what to do. It was so stressful. The family was fighting. I never want to put my kids through this. I never want to put my loved ones through this. And, this part comes in with informed consent, too. Like, they really want to understand what their options are so they can make the most informed decision for themselves. Mm-hmm. And we know when we are proactive, we get more options than when we are reactive. Mm-hmm. So this is often, and it's all dependent on what the needs are, but usually this can be a 2-hour session in their home. This is already a tough conversation where I'm requiring people. We talked about being brave. We talked about being courageous. I want to do what I can to make it as comfortable for those people. So we sit around their kitchen table in their environment, and it takes the pressure off their shoulders because I facilitate the conversation. I educate about the options. So oftentimes, I can be working with spouses. Usually I work with duos. It's not a singular person. So It can be spouses. Sometimes it's adult children and their parents. But these are conversations that they want to have. But because we live in this death illiterate society where we don't talk about death and dying, they don't not only know how to have the conversation, but they don't even really know what the options are. Right. Whether we're thinking about, treatment decisions. And again, this is like really pulled far back, right? I stay in my lane as a social worker. I'm not a physician, but thinking about quality of life, thinking about wishes like for a funeral service. What do they want that to look like? And everything in between, from healthcare wishes to end-of-life wishes to after-death wishes. And to have somebody walk them through all of that. And I've only practiced social work in the state of Minnesota, so I also have so many resources to pull from and really understand what the options are here in Minnesota. So we walk through that together. I'm a notary as well. So by the time I walk out that door, you have a detailed healthcare directive that actually helps guide your loved ones, helps guide your healthcare agent, helps guide your medical team, as well as be legally sound. And when I've done the homework on what a healthcare directive costs to be completed by attorney, my services for the most part are more affordable as well too. Again, love my attorneys. There's many estate attorneys in the Twin Cities here that I refer to. But I think when it comes to these detailed healthcare directives, having my years of experience, again, at the front lines of these conversations, having my medical training, having my social work background really puts me in a unique position to support the emotional complexities that come up, support the family dynamics, and really be able to give, like I said, that informed consent is just at the heart of who I am. People can't make informed decisions if they don't understand all their options, right?
Right, and sometimes they don't have the tools to even know how to think through things. We were talking off the air how we see this in our practice all the time.
Sure.
People do a general, broad healthcare directive or tell the POA, the power of attorney, or whoever's going to be speaking for them. They'll say, well, I don't want to have any medications, or I don't want to do whatever. And they never think through the potential different scenarios that they're going to experience. And it puts that POA or the loved one in a precarious position doing, well, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, wow, to have to carry that grief, or to carry that sense that I do the right thing is a burden, is a terrible burden. And we see that, and you're seeing that in your practice. You have to kind of help people unwind that. No, you did the best you can with the information you had.
Yeah.
But here's a better way to do it.
Well, and
next time.
And I think you nailed it with even just that question of, I don't want medications. Like when you're sitting down and it would be, again, we'll use the example throughout, adult child with their mom, right?
Yes.
That's the hard part about if this adult child doesn't have the years of experience. Like for me, if I was in that family situation, I'd say, all right, Mom, like let's talk about this for a minute. Are you talking about medications that will prolong your life?
Right.
That will, the intent is to cure? Or what about symptom management? What about if you're suffering, right? Because most people, unless they have years of hospice palliative experience or medical background, they're not going to think to ask those detailed questions. But it's the beauty in the details that provide the support. And again, I keep using that word permission, but it's just, I can't not use that word because it's what people need.
And it's freedom too. It gives the freedom for the family to then again navigate with the practitioners and the clinicians how to address these issues, because it's so hard to think through all the different scenarios that could happen with end-of-life care.
Yeah, and I mean, and one of the tough spots too is there's so many people that I've talked with about my services, and they're like, this is great. Like, what you're doing is so needed. I'm like, so tell me about your healthcare directive, right?
Right.
And they're like, oh, no, I'll get to that soon. I'll get to that soon. And I just, again, seeing so many experiences of somebody having anywhere from a massive stroke to an unexpected car accident to even, I mean, I've seen traumatic falls, right? I'm sure you've seen that too over at Minnesota Hospice where, I mean, I had a gentleman who was mowing his lawn 2 days before, had a massive fall down his stairs and died a week later in the hospital, right? Yeah. So we don't know when something unexpected is going to come up in our life. The youngest patient I worked with that we were all like, gosh, I wish I had some sort of direction was 28. Wow. Right? So anybody over the age of 18 should have a healthcare directive. And again, to give this guidance because we never know when things might happen. And then there's always this like this kind of conspiracy theory of like, oh, well, if I talk about it, if I make a plan for it, that means death is going to come find me sooner. I want to be clear that this is not manifestation, right? This is you saying that I accept I am going to die someday. Yeah. Because that's something, right? Like people have ostrich syndrome or they want to have their head buried in the sand and just stay ignorant to many things. I mean, sometimes that can serve you if it's something you're never going to experience. But every single one of us, me, you, every single listener that's listening is going to experience death. Yeah. I know I like to have control of myself. I'm sure that's hard for you to imagine that. I like to be in control. No. But, you know, it's I just can't imagine. We want to be in control of how our day-to-day looks like, what our career is, where we live, who our partners are, how we celebrate. We want to be why don't we want to be in control of the last chapter of our life? Right? On the way that we end and go out on this big, beautiful, unique journey that we've lived, you know? And so that's the energy that I bring to these spaces as well, too, is this is going to be a conversation that's going to need some courage. Yes. And you can do it. Yes. And I'm right here alongside you. I'm right here to guide you. And the thing that I hear over and over and over again from my clients that I work with is, man, I have peace of mind now.
Yes, that's what I hear. Yes, it's peace of mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of facing that fear.
Yeah.
Of even just addressing these things, these critical questions.
Yeah.
But it not only is it you, but it's your family.
Yeah.
Everybody gets peace of mind. It's like a priceless thing.
Yeah.
And it really is a small effort, really, and in the big scheme of things. But you're right. People just won't venture down that path.
Or again, I think it's that they want to, but they don't have the language to do it.
So
right?
true.
Like they just don't have the tools or the language. And we've talked about how we're seeing this like societal shift starting to happen, you know, and I mean, even thinking about when I started in this 10 years ago of where I am now and people's openness, right? Yeah. We still have ways to go, but like we're in the midst of this shift happening where this is becoming more of an acceptable conversation to talk about, you know? And again, it's just, like anything good in life usually takes some hard work.
That's right.
Right? It usually takes us we keep going back to this language, Ken, today, but like being brave and being courageous. And this is another one of those examples, right? Is we can have, the name of my company is called A Better Ending for a reason. We can't always predict what every end of life situation is, but I am unbelievably, unshakably confident that when we have these conversations and have these plans, your death will be better.
Yes. Yes. And the legacy you leave your family, not having the regrets or the questions or the concerns or the doubts that they did do the right thing.
And even them living now, you know, I worked with a mother and a daughter duo to help them, you know, write a really detailed healthcare directive for mom. And I mean, we talked through every single detail. I was a little shocked that she was in her mid-90s and I was the first person to talk to her about CPR. But even having that conversation, she very much was like, nope, I do not want to be resuscitated under any circumstance. So now when something comes up, when something happens, this daughter has clear confidence of what mom wants and doesn't want. And now she even called me and said they already picked out their cemetery plot. And now this isn't something that's so scary. And that's what we can provide, is just make it a little less scary.
Yes. Fantastic. All right, it's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Rosie Gaston. She's the passionate founder of A Better Ending. And she's here today to talk about end-of-life planning, but also how that can help you live fully and leave a lasting legacy. If you have a question, give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Hageland, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
The Senior Linkage Line is a free, statewide service of the Minnesota Board on Aging, helping older Minnesotans and caregivers find answers and connect to services and supports. Questions about Medicare, transportation, looking to move to senior housing, overwhelmed with prescription drug plans? Call the Senior Linkage Line at 800-333-2433 or visit trellisconnects.org, where we help people optimize well-being as they age. That's trellisconnects.org.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Minnesota summers are the best. We get outdoors and enjoy the sun and fire up the barbecues. This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to tell you about the exterior construction company that I trust, Snap Construction. As great as Minnesota summers are, they also bring extreme weather, storms, and hail. Late last summer, we were hit with a string of severe weather, including hailstorms. Those storms damaged roofs across the metro. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. A lot of homeowners didn't get their roofs inspected for damage and could potentially be facing much larger issues down the road. Please take my advice and call the roofing specialist I trust, Snap Construction, to schedule a free roofing inspection. If your roof was damaged, they will work with you and your insurance company to fix it quickly and efficiently. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
Hey, this is Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio. Did you know that we've been doing this show for 6 years on AM 950? And it's one of the only, I think it may be the only show about idealism in all of Radioland. And now the show's at 4 o'clock on Saturdays and still from 1 to 2 on Sundays. It'll be part of a new concept, a series of LGBTQ hosted shows and podcasts. Make sure to check it out.
All right, welcome back, folks. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Hageland, and joining me today is Rosie Gaston. She is the founder of A Better Ending, and she's here to talk about the taboo topic of end-of-life planning, but also how that planning can help you live fully and leave a lasting legacy. Rosie's an experienced hospice clinical social worker, and she can provide counseling, advocacy, education to help individuals and those closest to them plan for and navigate end-of-life intention and compassion. If you have a question for us, give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. Rosie, how can our listeners contact you if they have questions or want more information?
Absolutely. I recommend going to my website, www.abetterending.org. There's a contact me right at the top there where you can email me directly. I'm also on most of your social medias, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, where I try to post often and give little tips and suggestions and, support that way as well. My direct line is 612-564-9229.
All right. And I would really encourage you folks, if you have any questions, give Rosie a call. This is her calling. This is her passion. She's been doing it for years. I think she can give you some real insight from all the experiences she's had to help you navigate this end-of-life advanced directive planning that is so important to the people you leave behind.
Yeah.
And it's important to you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of your life, don't die in misery and pain.
No.
There's so much we can do. We have advanced technologies and medications that can really make a difference in your life.
Absolutely.
So anyway, all right. Well, last segment, Rosie.
Yeah.
There's only a few minutes left here. I know there's so many questions that we want to talk about, but what are some of the things that you wish people knew more about, or things that you've possibly have people wondering about and that you wish they knew more about?
I think the first part, honestly, Ken, is that I exist, right? People
Yes.
think that they can only get support like this within the healthcare system.
Right, or from an attorney,
Yeah,
or whatever.
right?
Yes.
And, the healthcare system, that was part of the reason why I branched out, is because I wanted to go deeper and I wanted to go further than my caseload would allow me to do, right? We still have a very efficient model of healthcare here in the United States. And so that was part of jumping out, is I wanted to be able to really go in depth and again, create these really succinct plans and be there for them without having systemic regulations. So I think that first piece is I exist. Yeah. You don't have to go to an attorney to do a healthcare directive. I can help with that. I think the other part is we talk about sometimes these moments of crises when we haven't been proactive. That's where kind of the navigating end of life part of my services come up. If you just got a new diagnosis, if you are a caregiver and you're trying to figure out, like, where does my loved one go after the hospital? Again, there's people at the hospital to help, but they want somebody to really sit down and give them an hour or two to not only process the emotional complexities of it, but also give some good advice of what the options really are. Sometimes that means I'm the bearer of bad news because, that's also the reality is there isn't always a resource for every single need that's out there. Yeah. But I think that's the biggest piece is that a support like mine exists because I'm kind of paving a way in a unique new way that, again, gets me invigorated, but people just don't know that they can Google and find somebody like me. Also that I work alongside the medical team, right? So if there's something, again, we talk about a hospitalization that can completely rattle people at their core, I can come up to the hospital and be a participant in that family meeting with your medical providers and your team to help you come up with a plan. I can be there to walk alongside in that space. People have asked me before, are you a death doula? I love death doulas, but
yes, they're great.
And I do see that there's a lot of overlap in what we do. I have so much experience as a clinical social worker and also just different gifts that I bring because of that background as a clinical social worker that I've kept my identity as that. But there definitely is overlap between what I do and what a death doula does. But what I found in my company is I'm working with people usually at the beginning of that diagnosis, or again, they could be completely healthy individuals that are saying, Rosie, I want to have this plan, right?
Because it gives peace of mind.
Yes.
As you talked about,
Yeah.
it is such a priceless thing, folks, to have peace of mind knowing my wishes are written down. It's been conveyed to my POA or my family. Yeah. And again, you are just so great at facilitating that. You're also, again, a licensed independent clinical social worker. You can help people kind of navigate some of these family issues.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes when the matriarch or patriarch all of a sudden has that diagnosis or has that situation, it can throw a family into chaos. I mean, the constellation just all of a sudden gets ripped apart because all of a sudden that hierarchy or just the power balance is disrupted. Yeah. And you can help them kind of help navigate through that as well.
And I love that you use the word navigate because there's times where people have brought me in and talked, my family's so dysfunctional. I'm like, I can't fix that. Right. I want to be clear about that. That's probably been a generational thing that's been going on. But what I can do is I can help people navigate it the best they can, right? Yeah. So,
Rosie, this has been great.
Yeah.
I wish we had another hour.
Oh, we could talk all day, Ken. We could talk all day.
Well, we'll have to have you back for another show here.
I'd love that.
Because this is just such important information that we're trying to get to people. So anyway, thank you. I want to thank Rosie Gaston. She is the passionate founder of A Better Ending, and for being here to discuss the taboo topic of end-of-life planning, but also how that can help you live fully and leave a lasting legacy. Rosie is an experienced hospice clinical social worker that provides counseling, advocacy, and education to help individuals and those closest to them plan for and navigate end of life with intention and compassion. Her mission is to normalize talking about death, transforming a tough conversation into an empowering experience. Rosie, how can listeners contact you if they have more questions or want more information?
Yeah, I'm going to send you directly to my website, www.abetterending.org, or you can call me directly at 612-564-9229.
Well, this has been just fantastic, Rosie. This is great information, and thank you for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, it's been an honor to be here with you and your listeners today.
Well, I know they got a lot out of it. I'm sure I'll hear a lot of things on the phone afterwards.
Sure.
So this has been great. Folks, we hope you enjoyed today's show. Please contact us with any questions or comments you have regarding today's conversation. You can reach us anytime by voice or text at 612-999-3426. Join us again next Saturday at noon for another broadcast, and thank you for listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about your health and your life. Until next time, choose to live well.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. We have big news. We've moved to North Minneapolis.
Why did you move?
As a black business owner, I wanted to be part of the North Minneapolis community to provide jobs.
Are there other reasons you moved there?
We have bigger new equipment and outgrew the other location.
What kind of new equipment do you have?
We have new equipment that allows us to print quality signage